Good morning. This is Pastor Brewer Erickson from Zion Lutheran Church here in Farmington, New Mexico. And this is Promissio, a pilgrimage of faith. Our devotion this morning is for Friday after the fourth Sunday in Lent. And our text is the Passion of Jesus Christ, drawn from the four Gospels, part 1, chapter 3. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was to be regarded as the greatest. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from the supper. And he laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And he came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, do you wash my feet?" And Jesus answered him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand." And Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." And Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no share with me." And Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." And Jesus said to him, "The one who is bathed does not need to wash, except for his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you." For he knew who was to betray him. That was why he said, "Not all of you are clean." And when he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If then your Lord and teacher have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you also should do just as I have done to you." And he said to them, The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as the one who serves. For who is greater, one who reclines at table or one who serves? Is it not the one who reclines at table? But I am among you as the one who serves. Truly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. This is the word of the Lord. If I do not wash you, you have no share with me. John chapter 13, verse 8. So, this part of the Passion we get from John. John, 20-some chapters long, 22 chapters long, and already, he's hitting on the Passion at chapter 13. He spends much more time detailing the last days of Christ's life here on earth than the other evangelists. And yet, even so, he skips over the Lord's Supper. He doesn't talk about it. But what's going on with John isn't that he doesn't talk about the Lord's Supper so much as he doesn't do so directly. He takes a very different way to get there. The Lord's Supper has already been recorded. And the other three Gospels have it. Paul's letter to the Corinthians has it. And John's aware of these by the time he's writing. So John doesn't like to cover material that's already been covered if he can avoid it in his telling of the gospel. But he takes on different events to explain what's going on in the other Gospels. And so here, the washing of feet stands in the place of the words of institution. Rather than giving us the words of institution, John is going to tell us what Jesus did after that to explain the significance of the Lord's Supper to the disciples and hopefully also to us. When Jesus gets done with the supper, he gets up and he goes to wash feet. Now, washing feet is, still today it's a rather humiliating thing to do, I suppose. Husbands, maybe they rub their wife's feet after they've spent a long day or so. But we don't go around washing feet very often. It's a funny thing. A lot of churches have started doing this within the last century. They started doing foot washings on Maundy, Thursday. They don't have the Lord's Supper, which actually gives its name to Maundy, Thursday, but they have foot washings. This is sort of missing the point. It's taking a very literal approach to the gospel in order to avoid the point. I've never done it in my church, as you can tell. This was a job that was typically given to slave girls, very young slave girls. It was the most demeaning of chores that could be done. And so here, Peter is horrified. What are you doing? And Jesus says, listen, you don't understand it now, but you will. And Peter says, you're not going to wash my feet. That's, somebody else can maybe, and I should be washing your feet, if anything. But when Jesus, he says, if you don't do this, you have no share with me. Now, these are the same words that he speaks about, after the feeding of the 5,000, for instance. If you do not eat my blood and do not drink, eat my body and drink my blood, you have no part with me. You have no share with me. So Jesus is here letting them know that this isn't just about humility. This isn't about giving a lesson in servanthood. This is about the Lord's Supper and what's going on here. He who has been washed is clean, doesn't need to wash again, just his feet. Well, obviously you have this reference here with washing throughout the New Testament. It's synonymous with baptism. Some places baptism is translated washing, like Luke 11 when he doesn't wash his hands before he eats. Jesus, that's baptism. It's called washing. And the Greek says baptism, but it's translated washing. Other places, the washing of the water with the word, Ephesians 5, obvious reference to baptism at this point. And what's going on is we've been baptized, we've been made clean. But now there's something to wash our feet. You wouldn't bathe after you came to a person's house after a long journey necessarily. But somebody would be there to wash your feet. But what we can learn here from this, from Peter's pronouncement, not just my feet, but my head and my hands also. This is the attitude of faith. When we realize that the Lord's Supper is giving us something, that Jesus is giving us himself in the Lord's Supper, then the question is no longer how often do I need to take communion, but how often can I? How often may I? Can I come now? It's not really a question anymore of necessity, but of wanting to. And sure, there are times where we can't commune. We might be away from our home congregation, might find ourselves at work in a foreign country where there isn't a Lutheran church or a church that we can commune at. And so we might go for a while, but there's always a longing for it with Christians, because here we receive the forgiveness of sins. And it's that forgiveness is what Jesus does for us that then we do for each other. And nowhere do we forgive somebody more intimately than when we kneel at the altar with them. And this is paramount for congregational life. Because congregations, they're full of sinners. And sinners sin against each other constantly. And yet, and it's true in congregations. They fight with each other. They have different ideas of what needs to be done and what should be done and everything. But the fight isn't so bad when everybody in that congregation can still kneel at the altar after the voters' meeting and receive the forgiveness of sins with one another and thereby forgive each other. Something profound there. That yes, I might not like what you've done. I might not like how you've done it or handled it or what you said, but I can still forgive you. We may still have to resolve a few things, but we come at it from a position of forgiveness. And so when we pull away from that, when we are no longer willing to go to the altar with them, then we have a real problem. And the only way to overcome that problem is to let Jesus wash our feet. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Lord, so it is with me. I would have nothing but you in my life. Let nothing come in between us, that I may remain in you and you may remain in me. Come to me and give me all that you have to give, for I need it so badly. I am ashamed that you must serve me. I've only wanted ever to serve you. And yet, if you do not wash my feet, I can have no share with you, nor can I serve you. So, Lord, wash me. Make me clean in your blood, that my life may be yours, and that I may serve you every day. Amen.